Hello, I am Minecraft Phenom 08, and this is episode 54 in my Automate Everything Minecraft series. In today's episode, I am going to be diving further into NuclearCraft again, and I'm going to hopefully be completing this fusion build, this fusion reactor build that I started in the last episode, and hopefully I'll get this monstrosity online. Now, as we see here, I do not have the electromagnets powered or anything, and that is simply because I turned off the capacitor in the basement of this building. Now the thing is, this system draws a lot of power, and I actually don't have enough power to sustain the system without the reactor actually being on. So let's go ahead and turn this back on, because we can go ahead and get it going for right now, or get some of the stuff going anyways. The electrolyzers and the electromagnets should all get power pretty quickly, and as we see here, the reactor is ready to go. It just doesn't have any fuel. So let's get it some fuel. Right here we have the hydrogen, and I will be using hydrogen and hydrogen in this reactor. Now I do have a tab pulled up from GamePD, I think it is, of the fusion fuels we can use in the fusion reactor, and here they are. H stands for hydrogen, D stands for deuterium, and T stands for tritium. There's helium-3, lithium-6, lithium-7, and boron-11, and those are all the fuels we can use, and here's a table of how they combine together. Anyways, let's look at which fuels provide the most power. Deuterium and tritium provide the most power, which is realistic. That is the easiest fusion to do anyways, and it also requires the least amount of heat to get to the most efficient area or zone of reaction. The hotter the fusion reactor gets, the fuels become more efficient to a point, and the heat variable just kind of shows where that point is. The lower the number, the lower the heat required to get maximum efficiency. So as we see, let's find hydrogen and hydrogen, because that's what we're going to be doing. That would be right here. It requires not too much heat, and it provides a decent amount of power, considering that hydrogen is the easiest fuel to get. So let's just jump back into the game here, and let's get hydrogen into this reactor. Now, before I do that, there are a few different buttons over here, and they do various things. I'm not exactly sure how all of them work, but anyways, I do know that I do not want to prevent input overflow, because we're going to be using hydrogen and hydrogen. Let's just click this to not prevent input overflow, because I only want to hook up one pipe to input the hydrogen. And so by putting it at that setting, I can use one pipe and I can fill both of the input tanks with hydrogen. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, it's all working like it should. And I'm gonna hook up another system here for the outputs for all of these tanks, and I think I'm gonna use the ender fluid conduit, as long as I can get enough throughput. If I can't, then I might have to go in another direction. Let's see here. So let's get some ender fluid conduit, if I have enough. I don't. That's kind of crappy. I should have probably made sure I had enough before starting this, because I do have a few other things crafting here. It's okay. Looks like it's kind of taking precedent over everything else, so that's good, because we want this now. All of the other stuff can kind of wait. Okay, so I can just click on that, and hopefully. Okay, what are we waiting on? Not exactly sure what we're waiting on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cancel it, and I'm going to say try it again. Okay, we're waiting on gravel, it looks like. Which means I think I need a pulverizer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to manually go into the pulverizer and throw in some cobblestone, or sand? I don't remember what makes gravel. But anyways, I'm going to make gravel manually, and I can do that off camera, and then I'm going to be right back. And I finally have everything done. I actually needed to make more than just gravel, just because I have some of my machines busy doing other things. But anyways, let's go ahead and hook up the ender fluid conduit that I now have. And what I'm actually going to do here is these are going to be insert and extract. And actually, let's leave these off for now. And I should not have turned this on at all. What I can do is I can grab some filters, because I will need these filters. I'm going to need at least 4 of them right now. Actually, I'm going to need at least 5 of them. My math is bad. So let's grab those. And before we go any further, let's set this up to be insert, and that needs to be this. And we need to say you can only accept hydrogen. So that is cool, and that is the right hydrogen right there. And then we also need to be extract always on. Now, before I forget, let's tell the system to make... I don't need to make any facades. I have enough. Cool. So that is insert and extract, and hopefully that will work placement-wise on the bottom. I think it will. So let's go ahead and hook this up to the tanks over here. I actually need to go up here. Okay, so I need to say extract always on, and I need to put filters on these once again. This one is deuterium, so once again whitelist. This one is hydrogen, so we can go ahead and whitelist hydrogen. Now, I might need to do something with this. Self-feed disabled, cool. So we do need this to be disabled. So we can turn this on, and it should be fine. Let's see here, another one. And this one should be oxygen. So we can say whitelist oxygen over here. And we need to make sure to choose the right oxygen once again, because there is NuclearCraft oxygen. It looks like, okay, that should be all good. We may need to add some speed upgrades. Now, as we see here, we have hydrogen in both input tanks, which is fantastic. That's exactly what we want to see. A little freeze there, sorry about that. So what we can go ahead and do, and I'm going to grab some speed upgrades here if I have them. Yes, I do. So I am going to add them to all of the extracts here, just to make sure I have hopefully enough fluid flowing through this fluid conduit here to get enough throughput, because I know this thing will use quite a bit of hydrogen. If you remember in the table I showed you near the beginning of the episode, there was a time stat for all of the different fuels, and the hydrogen burns the fastest out of all the fuel combinations, so we will need quite a bit of that. So now what I need to do is I need to pump power into the reactor before I can turn it on. But before I do that, I want to build another capacitor in the basement of this building. So let's go ahead and do that. And this will be kind of the buffer capacitor between this building and my main capacitor outside. And it will be an output capacitor, whereas this is an input capacitor. It inputs energy from the outside energy system, and the capacitor I'm about to build will be the opposite. So let's choose a location for this. And I thought about building it over here, but let's go ahead and build it along this wall here, I think. So I'm not sure if I have quite enough capacitor blocks yet to build it how I would like. Yeah, I think I do. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring this out one, and this will be my capacitor. And I think I'm going to have one extra block. Cool. So what I'm going to do, let's wrench this a little bit. We will say power meter over here. Whoops. And as we see, it's empty because obviously those are freshly built capacitors. And then the rest of this can be the I/O. And once again, I'm going to make this thing massive, because I think it looks cool. Nice. Okay, so let's route our energy here. Actually, I need to route energy from this capacitor to the reactor. I'm going to hold off on doing that, though, because I don't want to heat this thing up yet, and I don't want to waste the power heating it up, because it does take a lot of power. So I think how I'm going to do this is I'm going to run flux duct over here. So let's grab a bunch of flux duct. And I'm actually running a little bit low on the flux duct. So over here, this can be an input. Actually, let's go ahead and do something like this. And hopefully I can draw power from here. I'm not sure if I will be able to or not. If I can't, I mean, I can find a new location to hook up my flux duct. I do not want those connected. Okay, so that should be good. And then over somewhere over here, I can, you know what, let's just do the output right here. And then the flux duct can go along right here. And then we need to make this an input. Actually, before we do that, let's get some covers. And I definitely need quite a few of them right here, so cover here, cover there, cover everywhere. That is cool. That will work. Now I just need to get back through the hole behind me. There it is. Okay, so that's connected, and then that's connected. And then let's grab some stone and seal that up. Cool. And then let's do kind of the same thing over here with covers. Okay, so that should all be hooked up. The reactor should provide power to the main system outside. I was afraid of that. There we go. I'll just leave that extra cover there just because. Fantastic. Okay, so now we have that hooked up. Okay, it looks like we were accidentally getting power for a little while. Oh, I think I know why. Because I had the two flux ducts hooked up. And this flux duct right here is hooked up to that capacitor over there. So it was drawing some power. So that's why we have a little bit of heat here. Okay, so now we need to hook up the input power to this thing. And I think, actually, this is going to be really easy because I can just tie it into this flux duct right here. So what I can do is, I think, let's do it over here. And once again, we're going to use some covers to make this look nice. Real fast, I'm going to get rid of this so I can cover this easily. And then we can do that, this, and this. And then we should have this thing starting to heat up. And it's heating up, wow, fast. Awfully fast. So once it gets to 8,000 Kelvin, I can go ahead and turn on the reactor. And let's go ahead and do that. It will take quite a while for it to heat up. right now we're going to use a lever. In the future, we're going to use a comparator mechanism to help it maintain its heat. I think, yes. Okay, it's on. As we can see, it's producing no power. The temperature is actually going down. Okay, so I don't know. Okay, so now the temperature's going up. Now the temperature's going. Okay, I see. I think you have to provide a redstone signal to get it started in the first place, but normally if the redstone signal is off, it is operating. So let's go ahead and let's just let it run for a while. So let's take this lever away because we will not be using it. And as we can see here, we can see the plasma if we look through these, and that's cool. So now let's actually, I think mostly it's kind of a waiting game for me right now. We can go ahead and set up the comparator mechanism, I think. So let's get a comparator. And then we're going to need some redstone dust. I actually don't think I need this fluid filter. Okay, so redstone dust. And then repeater. I don't know if I actually have enough room to make this all work. I actually don't think I do. What I think is I'm going to put the comparator right here. Okay, and I'm not even sure. Okay, this would be the efficiency comparator. I actually want the heat comparator. Okay, so we're starting to get a little bit of power here. It is a pitifully small amount of power. This reactor, it does need quite a bit of heat for most of the fuel combinations except for deuterium and tritium. So we're going to have to wait for that to heat up. And we're going to have to deal with the lack of power right now. I'm actually going to go ahead and move all of these torches in, because I'm probably going to need a decent amount of this space for redstone dust. So right now I have 1, 2, 3. I can't put... Shoot, I can't use stone covers. So I might have to route this the other way. I don't know if I can go on top of facades either. So let's grab some facades and let's test this out. Facade, facade, facade. Is this thing getting enough hydrogen? It is, and it should be producing deuterium. If we look at the hydrogen here and just need the regular hydrogen, go to the nuclear reactor, we produce just straight deuterium, which is nice because that is a good fuel for fusion reactors as well. It's a better fuel than hydrogen, in fact. So let's see if we can spread some redstone dust over this. Yes. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, I lost my count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I was worried about that. Okay, how can I do that? You know? I might have to make this thing ugly. Yeah, you know what? I can't think of an easy, better way to do this than just by putting a block of stone down. And doing something like this. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and then we can go ahead and do something like this. Not a comparator. Repeater with yet one more block or one more redstone dust. I think that'll work. It's not the prettiest solution, but yeah, whatever. Sometimes it pays to be ugly. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm just going to go away and wait for this thing to heat up. As it heats up, the reaction will increase its speed, because the reaction actually goes, I believe the reaction goes slower until it gets up to higher efficiency, and then the reaction goes faster and it produces more power. So obviously our efficiency is still at 0. Yeah, we can produce a lot of power with this thing, as we see by the 0 efficiency, and we're still producing 600 RF per tick right now. So I'm going to wait on this thing to heat up. Hopefully it doesn't take too long to do that. And when it starts to get near to the 100% efficiency mark, I will be right back. And I am back with my fusion reactor here. It is almost to 100%, but I think I'm actually going to scrap this redstone control for the heat, because I totally forgot that you can actively cool fusion reactors. And I will show you how momentarily. But first, let's get rid of all the redstone stuff, because we will not need it. Actually, I may set up a simple method to automatically shut down the reactor should it get too hot, and we can do that with a comparator. So let's do that real fast. Efficiency heat comparator, yeah, that's exactly what we want. We can just go ahead and not place it there because that's a stone cover. We can place it here though. So what we can do is, if we have this on heat, right now we should have a power of 1 or 2. Once it gets up to something like, I don't know, what's 100 divided by 15, something like, I don't know, 21% of its heat, which would be way out of the efficient zone for a hydrogen fusion reactor. But anyways, if it gets up to something like 21% of its heat, this redstone signal should shut it off momentarily until it falls back down. Because when you shut it off, it quickly loses heat. So let's actually show that real fast. That way you can get an idea of exactly how this works. So if we place a lever here, we see that the heat change right now is positive 5880. If we turn this on, the heat change is 220,000 to the negative. So it cools down really fast when it's off. So this mechanism will shut it off automatically should it get hotter than, say, 21% of its total heat here. Anyways, what we can do with this fusion reactor is actually we can actively cool it. And if we take a look at the temperature change here, as the reactor itself gets hotter, the temperature change actually starts to come down, and it will continue to do that. So one thing we can do is we can actively cool this, and I think the sweet spot is 5,000 Kelvin per tick for the heat, and we could do that with water, but let's show how actually crappy water is as a coolant, and then let's move on to something better. So we need some active fluid coolers, and if you shift and hover over, you have to pump cool it into this block. If used, if used to cool a fusion reactor, it is much more efficient for a cooler to have a partner on the exact opposite side of the entire fusion ring. And I think I can show that as well. So, for example, if I put a cooler here, right now if we right-click this, it just shows the temperature and temperature change as I hover over it. However, if I provide this with water or some other coolant, we can see up at the top of the screen that the tank is full. When we shift or when we right-click this, we should now see the active cooling rate, and we see that we have 66 Kelvin per tick, which is obviously not great, but yeah, whatevs. So it said if I provide a cooler on the exact opposite side of the ring, we will get an efficiency bonus. So what we have to do is we have to draw a line from this cooler through the middle of this reactor, and the exact opposite side would actually be this block space right here. So before I actually destroy this flux duct, I need to make sure to replace or that I can get power to all of the electromagnets that it would feed. So that one up there, and then this one right here. So now I can get rid of this right here, and I can place my cooler down. If we remember, that one cooler provides 66 Kelvin per tick of cooling, but if I double this up, it will provide more than 133 because we get a bonus. So instead of 133, we are seeing 553 or 533, my bad. So we could take advantage of that and make our cooling like that. However, I don't super need this reactor to be at 100% efficiency, and so I'm actually going to do something a little bit different that's maybe a little bit simpler for me to build. And rather than having like a bunch of water coolers everywhere and having to reconfigure my flux duct, I'm just going to use some helium. And that is because if I use one helium cooler, I will be able to actually get more cooling than I actually need. So let's go ahead and do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place, or I'm going to get a helium collector. And these are built like this. They need zirconium and depleted thorium-230. I have both of these things from my fission systems that I have built in the past. So I actually have a dense helium collector here that I'm going to be using. And then I actually need to cool the helium. So I need a supercooler, which is made like this. And I also have all of this stuff from my previous NuclearCraft exploits. The supercooler does require some power, so we're going to be putting it up against this flux duct here. And then we need an active cooler, and we'll only need one. So that's fantastic. So what we're going to do is let's place the supercooler here. Let's place the dense helium collector here. And that will automatically eject helium into the supercooler, which will then cool it. And then we can pump that into a active fluid cooler. So let's see here. We need some conduits. And I think that'll do. So we need to set this to extract, and we need this one to be insert. And at some point, this should get me some helium. And let's actually throw in some speed upgrades. I might not actually need any because this system will not use helium too quickly. Okay, so if we go and hover over here, we actually see we have a negative temperature change now because our active cooling is over 100%. Now the thing is, the temperature of this reactor will drop to a point to where the temperature change gets to 0 Kelvin, and then it will be a completely stable fusion reactor. And so what I'm going to do to speed that up is I'm going to grab a lever, and I'm actually going to shut this thing down. And then I'm going to periodically restart it, and we're trying to get to the temperature change to where it's 0. The efficiency shouldn't be too far off 100%. It definitely will not be. I'm guessing it'll be like 95 or 94%, which is perfectly fine by me because I have another complication that I'll show you after I get this thing to be stabilized. Okay, so we're at negative 2100 there. So let's shut it down for a little bit longer. Drop the temperature a little bit more. Okay, so we're at 1700. Okay, so I can actually play with this off camera because this is just a little bit tedious. I'm going to keep on turning this off and then turning it back on until the temperature change is really close to 0 when I have the reactor on, and then I'm going to be right back. And I am back. It looks like my reactor is near its stabilization point. The efficiency is a little bit lower than I would have liked. It's only at about 91%. And currently the reactor is barely heating up. At some point it will get hot enough to where the temperature change does get to 0. But I'm not going to really wait around for that. Let's go ahead and get rid of this lever because I don't need it anymore. So anyways, like I said, there's a complication that I have. And it stems from my hydrogen supply. Currently, I am not making hydrogen fast enough to feed my reactor full time. And that's going to be a problem because if the reactor shuts down, it will cool down to a point to where it won't be able to turn on again. So what I have done is I have actually thiefed my hydrogen tank from my fission area over there, because I was making hydrogen as a byproduct of me producing oxygen to oxygenate my thorium fuel. So anyways, I have a bunch of hydrogen right here in this tank, and as a temporary measure, what I'm going to do is I am going to replace this hydrogen tank with a much fuller hydrogen tank that I have got from over there. And so that should provide enough hydrogen to keep this thing running for, I don't know, maybe a week or two. I'm not really sure. But anyways, so that's a temporary solution. In the future, I will probably add more electrolyzers. But right now, this whole system is running negative power-wise. As we can see, this is the output capacitor for this area, and my electrolyzers and powering the electromagnets actually takes more power than the fusion reactor outputs at this point. The thing is, I am getting a lot of byproducts here, especially this deuterium here. So I will be able to use this in another fusion reactor. So eventually this whole building will become power positive. But right now it's power negative, so I'm not really willing to add more electrolyzers at this point. So this temporary solution should be able to do a pretty good job for a little while. But anyways, I think that's a good wrapping up point for this episode. So in today's episode, I continued to build this fusion reactor. I pumped hydrogen into it. I got it running now. I had to preheat it, and I did that with this capacitor over here. I also built this capacitor over there, I should say, as the basically the output for the fusion reactors that I'm going to have in this building will all go into that capacitor before going into the main energy system for this base over here. So yeah, quite a bit of progress. It's nice to see a fusion reactor on, and actually, as we can see right here, the temperature change has dropped to 17 Kelvin per tick. So yeah, this thing will equalize soon. Anyways, I think that's all. So if you like this episode, definitely give it a like. If you enjoy automation and modded Minecraft, consider subscribing to my channel, because that's what I do. Anyways, signing off, I am Minecraft Phenom 08, and I will see you next time.